What's up, Mets fans? Welcome to a new episode of the Teens and Queens podcast. The Mets fired general manager Jared Porter for the news that broke about him. He sent explicit messages and photos to a female reporter when he was with the Cubs in 2016. Um, it was really disappointing to see that because I bet a lot of Mets fans thought we finally got a GM. We were excited for him, and he lasted less um, than Carlos Beltran did in his manager. So, you know, I'll give this one to Mike to start off our convo about this.
Yeah, it's a really sad thing to see all this stuff transpire over these last couple days. Obviously, we do not uh, accept this type of behavior in the New York Mets organization, which is obviously why he got fired the day after the report came out. I was really looking forward to him being GM. He's going to do a pretty good job, but we can't have that kind of stuff going on in our organization, so we had to let him go. Now, Zach Scott's probably going to take on a little bit of a bigger role. Sandy's going to take on a bit of a bigger role. A report came out today that we might hire someone like Billy Epler to come on to the team, to the front office to kind of serve somewhat of a Porter role. But it's obviously a bad situation. No one wanted to get into.
Yeah, obviously, when the reports came out, I was rather shocked, as most Met fans were. This is definitely something we do not accept, or definitely do not want anyone like Jared Porter in our part of our organization. As Steve Cohen said, this is not the type of people we want in our organization. And Sandy said we would not have hired him if we knew he had done this stuff in the past. So with that being said, it was definitely the right move to do. But we're definitely disappointed to see our general manager coming out to doing these actions a couple of years ago. He obviously did that Francisco Lindor trade and Joey Lucchesi trade that we're going to talk about in the future of this episode. But other than that, we just can't have anyone like that in an organization. I think we can all agree with that. We can't have anyone has a history of that. It's just not a good look at the organization. It doesn't provide a good example to anyone, and you can't have that type of guy around anyone. So, but yeah, so I'm not. None of us Mets fans are accept him or want to. We just have to move on. We have a big season ahead of us. We can't ignore the situation, but we have to put our focus on the bigger problem or the bigger situation in the 2021 season coming up. We have a brand new team, a great team around us, and this is a year I think we can compete, and I think we should be more focused on that and move past this. We did all the right steps to move on, and there's no reason we should keep looking at it. So yeah, that's what I have to think about the situation.
So I into two things that Tim said actually. He said when he saw the news, he was what was going on. When the news broke, I was asleep. So waking up to seeing that your general manager, sent out explicit photos, you're like, what's going on? What's going to happen? How is this going to impact the franchise? What's the next move? And then later that day, um, you know, 8 o'clock around 8 o'clock in the morning, Steve Cohen, tweets out terminated Jared Porter's contract. So I think it was the Mets did a really good job by not stringing it out, not waiting till later that day or a few days later to fire him, because the backlash that they would have got would have been crazy. And all the different reports that would have came out would have been just crazy why they haven't fired him yet. And then also, like what Mike was saying before, it kind of ruined the Mets' plan because he was supposed to step in, and Sandy, I think, he wants on him to become, like president of baseball operations, wants him to grow into that role. So it ruined right now's plan, or the current plan, and the future's plan. So really unfortunate to see that kind of news break. But like when you see what happened, it's like you can't you can't really feel bad for who did it, just because of like this kind of situation that it was and kind of how bad the situation was. So, if anybody else has anything else to
No, absolutely. That we definitely had that plan going into signing Porter. He would grow into the president of baseball operations for the Mets in the future, and our assistant general manager Zach Scott would eventually go into the general manager spot. So it's definitely ruins a lot of stuff we had planned for the future for the Mets front office situation. But I have faith that Sandy Alderson, Zach Scott, and maybe even Steve Cohen can take on more responsibility and make this franchise the franchise we've been waiting for, the winning team, and we can win some ball games in 2021. So I think that's our final thoughts on that topic. We'll be moving on to our Joey Lucchesi trade topic.
So, before we go into the Joey Lucchesi trade topic, just like a few quick notes that I'm just going to touch on quick. Mets missed out on, big fish George Springer. He signed with the Toronto Blue Jays. Mets fans wanted him. So, just addressing that situation. Also, the Mets have become more interested in starting pitcher Trevor Bauer, who won the Cy Young this past season. So, be interesting to see how that goes and see if they go and get Bauer or if they go and get, more depth pieces. So, like Tim was saying, the Mets traded for left-handed pitcher Joey Lucchesi. It was a 3-team trade between the Mets, Padres, and Padres ended up getting Joe Musgrove. So, in my opinion, I like the trade, and I'll let anybody.
Yeah, so we traded for Joey Lucchesi. He's a lefty pitcher. He's played 3 years in the big leagues. He debuted in 2018, where he had a pretty good year. That was probably his best season. He's coming off a year where he barely pitched, only 5-2 here at San Diego. I think this is a guy we're going to bring in. He's going to compete for that last rotation spot if we don't add anyone else to the rotation. He'll compete with Steven Matz in spring training. We ended up giving up our 14th ranked prospect in our system, which may seem like a lot, but in our system isn't really like in other systems he wouldn't be ranked as high. It's just because our system is relatively weak right now. So it's a to add to our pitching depth. That's something we've emphasized all off season. We want to add to our pitching depth because, as we've said in previous podcasts, there's going to be injuries and we're going to need guys to fill in for the rotation. So I really like this trade. Good depth could be in our rotation in 2021 or beyond. So we'll see what he can bring to our rotation this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Mike had to say there. He's a big lefty. Our lefty in prior years has just been Steven Matz. Last year we got a glimpse of what David Peterson's capable of. I think we can all agree we were very impressed with what David Peterson did last year. He's definitely going to be in the rotation this year. But we're still looking for that 5th spot until Syndergaard comes back in probably June, hopefully early June at latest July. It's looking like June, so it's up for grabs. Steven Matz could go for Joey Lucchesi. We could have like Corey Oswalt or any of the guys in AAA who we've been doing depth signings with. All those guys are going to be competing for that spot during spring training. No one's entitled to a spot right now, so I don't think Joey Lucchesi is coming into this organization guaranteed a spot. So spring training will definitely be something to look at between the few capable options for that 5th starting spot. So I think it's going to be an interesting spring training this year, to say the least, as we'll find out who our 5th star will be going into opening day and for the first 2 months of the season, which can make or break a season, matter of fact, as he'll get at least maybe 8 starts or so, which is a good amount of starts for a pitcher. So, and who knows, maybe he can be a part of the team late run too. Maybe we have another injury in the rotation. So it's not like this pitcher will be gone after the few months he's in. We could have a tragic star go down with an injury for the rest of the year, and that's just baseball. So we got to deal with it. You can never have too much depth. This trade was definitely needed. I think he's definitely better than Steven Matz right now. So, but I guess we'll see going into spring training. I think he's a higher upside. He's still young. We have a good amount of years of control for him, and I think this is a trade that was much needed for the Mets, as we lack in left-hand starters on the 40-man. So, and I think Joey Lucchesi will fit in right into the organization.
I'm pretty sure Lucchesi also has a decent amount of control left before he hits the open market. So, like I was saying before, I really like the trade, especially because of the fact that the Mets kind of lack left-handed pitching that are major league ready. Steven Matz, who's been up since 2015, David Peterson, who showed who looked really good last year, in my opinion. So adding Lucchesi to that mix, gonna have to compete for a role in spring training just to see if he's starter, bullpen, or maybe even triple A for depth. It's gonna be exciting to watch. I think it's gonna be interesting, especially with the new Mets regime that they got in the front office. I think everybody's gonna have to work for it. I don't think they're gonna play any favorites. They want to win now. They have the pieces to win now. They might be a few pieces off, but no, one or two pieces away from really being a real contender in baseball in the National League. So if anybody else wants,
But yeah, I definitely think these are the type of moves you gotta make if you want to be a contending team. You gotta have depth. One star goes down, and we go from a great rotation to maybe an average rotation. We saw it last year when two of our stars in Syndergaard and Stroman went down. We went from having one of the top rotations to having probably maybe a bottom 5 rotation at the time. So these moves are definitely needed to be a winning team. And as Bubba said, this is definitely we're definitely a move or two away from really competing. I think we can definitely make the playoffs this year. And who knows? When you're in the playoffs, everyone knows anything can happen. We saw in 2019 with the Nationals. Anything can happen. So once we get in there, I think something special could happen. We're known as the amazing Mets. Maybe some magic can happen in 2021. That's all my thoughts on this topic of Joey Lucchesi.
Yeah, it's just because we added Lucchesi doesn't mean that we're still not gonna try and get some starting pitchers on this team. We could still go out. Garrett Richard just signed with Boston today, but apparently we were in on him, so we might still try and add another starter to this mix to really deepen this rotation for a run in this upcoming season, because it's gonna be it could be a mess this upcoming. With all the COVID stuff going on still, we might have to postpone games and a bunch of stuff that could mess with our scheduling, and we're going to need a lot of pitching depth for that. So I really think pitching depth is going to be really important this year. Depth all around, team depth at any position is important for contending teams, because if you don't have depth, as Tim said, a guy goes down and you're stuck with some guy that's not major league quality, and for contending acceptable. So I'm really excited that we're adding depth to this team, deepening it out, and I think it's really going to help us in the long run. And maybe one of these depth signings we have will end up being a key contributor to this team, as we've seen in recent years. Guys like Max Muncy, Gio Urshela signed with the Dodgers and Yankees and ended up being key contributors to their playoff runs. So hopefully we can catch them lightning in a bottle, and it works out.
Yeah, with what Mike said there, with all the COVID stuff, just because we aren't gonna have a shortened season this year doesn't mean a lot of COVID stuff or related stuff can happen. As we've seen in the NBA, a lot of players have been going down for COVID protocols. Not that they're necessarily getting the virus, but just because they've been around it or something like that. The MLB did a good job last year of containing the players and with the virus. Not too many players got after the first few weeks. So that was good to see, but as we know, anything can happen. So that's definitely something to consider when signing all this depth. And it may not be Trevor Bauer, but as Mike said, these players can turn into real superstars and key contributors to the season and the success the team has.
Yeah, like they're both saying, with COVID and everything, excuse me, you see NBA, if one guy goes down, because there's close contacts, all those different things. So if you have your star player go down, then you have 6 more guys go down, then you have cancellations, postponements, all that. So with the MLB, Mets had their own COVID outbreak last year. It wasn't that bad as like maybe other teams, but it's still scary because maybe when you look at other teams, it's like, oh, that's scary. But when it's like your own team getting affected by it, it gets pretty scary at some points. Wondering who are they okay? Are they feeling better? Are they sick? How long are the Mets not going to be playing baseball for? Obviously, baseball is not the main concern when there's a virus going around, but different things like that, like they were both adding to. Also, I think our first podcast, I talked about how the different rotation mixes that the Mets had last year. Multiple guys went down with injuries. Syndergaard and Stroman were just out for the season. Syndergaard, Tommy John, and then Stroman opted out. And then DeGrom went down with injury. Matz went down with injury. Walker went down with injury for a little bit. So like one of the guys that was basically a mainstay in the rotation was Porcello. He may have struggled a little bit, but he was a mainstay in the rotation because he just didn't get injured. He was, he still fought through innings and all that different stuff. So, hoping the Mets, hope Major League Baseball in general can stay healthy. Hopefully the virus soon, and we could just, enjoy baseball like we used to, a few years back.
All right, so that seems like all we have to talk about today for this episode of Teens and Queens podcast. There's definitely a lot of rumors going around, a lot of players the Mets have been looking at, as we said, Trevor Bauer, Jeremy Jeffries, a bunch of these players going around, but nothing's too close to happening, it looks like. But hopefully within the next week we can get some final signings before spring training happens. We'll get an episode out soon. But for that, that's all the time we have. Hope you guys had a healthy start to the new year. And hope you guys enjoyed the episode. So hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. And make sure to check out our Instagram accounts in the link in the bio. So if you want more Mets updates. So hope you guys have a good day, and let's go Mets.